Okay, I'm here at the 2011 San Diego Comic-Con. I have with me the director and manager of AlexRossArt.com, Mr. Sal Abbinanti. And Sal, thank you for being with me.
Hey, as always. Thanks for having me.
So, Alex Ross's work, I've noticed, as well as being brilliant work, I've also noticed that the prices of the pieces have been going up a lot, and Alex Ross is no longer just a name in the comic book industry. He's a world-renowned name in art. The people that bought his art originally, are they happy people? Have they made a really good investment?
Well, I mean, that's the idea. I think so. I think, well, it's not just collectors. There's different categories of people that buy originals. You have other dealers that buy it, to resell it. You have collectors that buy it as investments, and then you have people that buy it as gifts or buy it just to, for their office, or they buy it, just as an investment for a little while. And I think what Sotheby's and Christie's and some of the other auction houses have discovered from the mainstream stuff is that the way the economy is right now, art can be a better investment than stocks, because you buy a piece and you generally feel, at the very least, you're going to be able to get your money back and not lose money on it. Whereas with stocks, everything fluctuates based on what's going on with the world and the economy. I've discovered I've sold pieces to, 70% of our clientele is overseas. We have a lot of Asian clients from the UK and from Central Europe. So it runs the gamut. I would have to say it's a good investment, but that people will think my opinion is skewed. But I think in general, you should always buy something you like first. I mean, yeah, as an investment, of course, but then that way, either way, no matter what happens, you enjoy the thing.
Obviously, for you, becoming the director and manager of Alex Ross's art, I mean, that was an investment for you as well.
Sure.
What originally made you decide to take this job?
We were friends, and Alex asked me, initially, it was a favor. He said, hey, can you do me a favor, kind of help me out with some of this stuff? And I initially turned him down. It was kind of like, yeah, when they asked Rocky to fight Apollo Creed, I really got to be honest with you, I've been coming to cons my whole life. I've been into comics my entire life, and started going to comic shows when I was 10, 11 years old. And I generally despised art dealers because, for the most part, they didn't have a lot of respect for it. They would have the originals strewn on the table loosely or in, practically we put them in Tupperware tubs. And I just felt they didn't respect the artist. They didn't know the difference between shoes and art. And so my initial reaction was no. But then as we started to work with Alex, I found Alex is not. First and foremost, we were good friends and we trusted each other. And being an artist myself, you have to kind of. I had the freelance mentality. You have to hustle. You have to, to kind of pay your bills. I like to eat 3 times a day. And once I saw Alex's work, it was kind of a no-brainer. Yeah, I mean, I would love to say I knew that it was going to be as successful as it was in the original art sales, because he was phenomenally successful before I started working with him. But the art market, we also kind of had a happy accident with the .com boom. We started the website. eBay started at the same time, and it opened us up to a whole new area of clientele that couldn't buy art before unless they came to the States. So I discovered that there's this whole huge, fanatical fan base of comic book people in Europe and in Asia and in Japan and the Philippines. They love American comics, but they didn't have access to it before. So.
Yeah, it's actually, you're not the first person to tell me that there are a lot of Asian collectors out there. A lot of people actually, businessmen will actually send representatives over to negotiate and buy pieces of art.
Absolutely.
Have you ever been over to Asia to see what becomes of these pieces?
Yeah, a few of our higher tier clients are in Hong Kong and Singapore and Tokyo. So I've done some shows in Asia. I've met with some clients in Asia, and there's some pretty eccentric collectors over there. They're to say the least. And I was not aware of how rabid fans these collectors can be. But this is not kid stuff anymore. They're multi-million-dollar collections of comics out there.
Wow.
And I think eBay also had a lot to do with changing the scope of original artwork. The internet had a tremendous effect on originals, as did CGC with comic grading and things like that. So, will the bubble burst? I don't know. I don't think so. I think right now we're at the core of guys our age that grew up with the stuff and want a piece of our youth back. We want a piece of that time when, you know, there was the purity of why we loved this stuff and how much joy it brought us. So I think we're always going to pursue our nostalgia.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but I mean, I've been a part of the Los Angeles gallery scene for a long time, and a lot of the quote-unquote lowbrow galleries.
Right.
When you look at the artwork, you realize that a lot of these lowbrow artists are actually, I don't know if aping is the right word, but I'll use it anyway, aping comic book art. I've seen a lot of things that are similar to Alex Ross, to Bill Sienkiewicz. Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
They say Sienkiewicz, but it's Sienkiewicz. I've been pursuing the fine art market for a while with Alex to find that there's a great deal of collectors that have fine art collections and comic collections, or collectors that just, if the image is cool, they'll buy it. They're not necessarily, and there's a lot of collectors I would say probably have that they're story driven, they're character driven, they're company driven. They like DC, they don't like Marvel, they like Batman, they don't like Superman. So it could be all about that. But we're doing an enormous exhibition at the Andy Warhol Museum this fall in October, where I'm hoping that people can see that great art is great art, whether it's in comics or highbrow stuff in New York where it's on canvas and in a gallery in Soho.
Well, one of the things that I find about Alex Ross in particular is that Alex Ross has a vocabulary, and anybody who has worked as, say, an art director or who has taken classes in art history know that a lot of the great painters in history remained in history books because they had a vocabulary that reflected the time. And Alex Ross, aside from just being a fantastic superhero artist, has always managed to really integrate everyday things and thoughts and feelings and emotions into those characters. It's not just about painting from a photograph, but capturing a mood and an essence that is unique to this time and integrating it into the superhero. So I think 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, people will still be going to museums to look at Alex Ross pieces because they reflect the art that way.
I believe so. I mean, I think Alex is passionate about what he does. He's passionate about the subject matter. And I think even if he wasn't successful in working in comics in a big name, I think he would still be doing this. I mean, he was doing this before, he made it, he became a well-known name. And I just feel that a great part of his success is just his passion for the subject matter. He's very passionate about superheroes and about the comics medium as a whole. And that's a good thing now, because comics there's always, we go through, I would say, every decade or so, that teetering period. And right now we're going through unique times with the print medium, kind of people questioning whether it's going to be around in the next 20 years because of the digital age, the iPad, and the internet, especially starting more digital comics coming. And I think there'll always be a space for that. But for me, it's comics have that textile feel that it has to have for me, that I have to read a comic on paper. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next 20 years to comics.
Theoretically, from an investor's point of view, this might actually be a good time to be investing, because the amount of material that is being printed is going to be far less, a lot rarer, and then a lot of, I mean, I don't know about you, but all the content on my computer from 10 years ago, my new computer can't even read. It's lost. It's gone.
It's
so.
true.
Anyway, anything else you'd like to add?
I think, with original artwork, there's always going to be a speculative nature to the business. People will say, oh, it's too expensive, it's not. You're pricing out the small guy, there's posters, there's your plays, there's prints, there's lithographs. I mean, there's every price range for great art and great images to have on your wall. Now, obviously, with original art, it's a one of a kind. And it's, from my perspective, I always feel that it's fine art. Bill Sienkiewicz's stuff, I always, and Alex's stuff, I always felt should belong to the gallery. And I feel, strong about it. I feel that it's a legitimate piece of artwork. People, when they throw the comics, I think in Europe they get it. They treat artists, comic artists, like rock stars and like artists, fine artists. Here in the States, for some reason, we seem to put that moniker on comics like it's for kids. Like, when are you going to grow up? And my mother, she's still waiting for me to get a real job. When are you going to grow up? And I keep telling her, Ma, it's not just comics. You feed your family, puts food on the table. And I think it's a viable American, it's like a soap opera and comic books and jazz, I think, are hardcore American adventures.
It's not just about making a living. I mean, making a living is great, but it's about being happy and doing what you love.
It's absolutely, well, it's possession of your soul, I think Thoreau said. It's not just about, you don't want to look back at the sum total of your life and say, oh, I had to pay my bills.
Yeah.
You're never going to look back and say, I wish I worked more. You're going to look back and say, man, I wish I would have finished that novel. I wish I would have drawn more. I wish I would have painted more. That's the mirror of life, I feel.
Now, one last question. Aside from Bill Sienkiewicz and Alex Ross, who are you looking at right now as an artist that you look at that work and go, man, that's really great stuff. I would like to, either manage that artist or collect that artist. I'm not an old geezer. I still really enjoy reading the old stuff. Jack Kirby, John Buscema, Gene Colan. The new guys, I like J.H. Williams a lot. I love John Romita Jr. a lot. I love Simone Bianchi, Gabriele, some of the Italian artists I really like a lot. To me, I'm drawn more to the image. I don't really buy comics. I'm not driven to comics by the storyline. I'm in a comic store. I'll look and, from a small indie title to a mainstream title, if it's cool art, I'll buy it. And I almost won't even read the story. I just like to look at the art. So I just again, I'm driven. I like everything from serious illustration, that Bill and Alex are doing, to marker drawing, color marker drawings that Bruce Timm will do, the character. So I'm drawn to the image, and I think with comics, there's room for hamburgers and ribs and chicken and shrimp and latte, although I don't like latte. I would love to say I follow what's going on with Captain America and Fantastic Four, but I'm really not drawn to the stories as much as I am the art. Right now I'm just drawn to lunch.
Well, you're lucky. I'm chained back here. It's 8 o'clock.
Well, if I find some pate, I won't bring it.
No. But it's always great talking to you. I really appreciate you stopping by and listening to me run my mouth for.
Oh, it's always interesting. Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it.
All right, so there you have it. Sal Abbinanti of AlexRossArt.com at the San Diego Comic-Con for 2011.
Thanks, guys.